Good morning and welcome to Positive Recovery with Corinna, being made for sobertownpodcast.com and my YouTube channel, which is Positive Living with Sobriety and Disability. And this week, if you listened to last week, you'll know that many of my I Am Sober friends, which is a great app if you're wanting to get sober or need help with sobriety, head on over and look for the I Am Sober app. Many of my friends on there gave me some ideas of what to podcast on because I was running out of them. So I'm just now going to open my jar because I put them all on bits of paper. And I'm going to have a little dig and see what we pull out this week. And it is, I've got two together here. Because, one of them was what to do with boredom as a trigger and loneliness beaters. And I thought they were quite similar, so I put those two together. One of the biggest things actually for me getting sober was discovering that loneliness and boredom was a trigger. I didn't know that until a good sort of couple of months, I think, into my sobriety. I always knew that pain was why I drank, to block and numb physical pain latterly and emotional pain beginning, and to try and fit in. And I remember a couple of months into my sobriety, I'd had a particularly bad weekend with my fibro and my arthritis, and I'd literally spent the Friday to the Sunday sitting on the settee, going between settee and bed, not going out and just watching TV. And nobody was around, everybody else was working, so I was literally on my own for the weekend. And I remember it getting to the Sunday and me thinking, I want a drink. And it was then that it hit me that loneliness and boredom were triggers for me, and I hadn't realised until then. And that's something that's quite, good on this journey, is we discover new stuff about us, but we discover reasons why we drank as well, and I think it's important to do that. So one of the hardest probably things for me to do was to learn to just sit and be with me. From that realisation, it was like, what can I do about this? I'd done lots of other stuff, diversions and distractions, which I'll talk about in a minute, but I was just bored. I'd had sort of, over 48 hours of just sitting, watching Netflix, probably doing knitting, because that was my go-to, was my knitting. And I was just bored of sitting on my bum. I was lonely of being on my own and just doing the same thing day after day. And I thought, well, actually, probably what I need to learn is that it's okay to be with me. It's okay to be on my own. It is okay. It's what we make it, isn't it? So I just took that opportunity to learn to just sit and be, and it is the hardest thing I did, but it's okay now. I mean, I think as humans we're sort of programmed that we have to always be busy, we have to always be doing something, we have to be on our phones, checking in with the world, listening to things, reading, seeing what everybody else is up to. We have to be busy. Or even if we're just sitting relaxing, we have to be reading or watching TV or doing some knitting. And actually it is okay, and it's very good just to be. Just to be. It's hard, but it's worth it. And I can't sit there for long periods of time to be with me, but I just catch myself every now and again of just taking a breath and just being. So that was my realisation, and obviously, but I can't just sit and be with me all the time. So what are the loneliness beaters and boredom beaters? I think we find these on the way, and I think we find things that we'd either forgotten about or new things that we've discovered. I did teach myself to knit about a year before I got sober, just purely because I was being made medically retired. So I was getting a bit bored. I'd lost my sort of, sense of being a nurse at that time, and I wasn't going out to work every day, and I was getting bored even then, but I was drinking, but I was knitting. So one of the great things I think about being sober in my knitting is I don't have loads of holes to pick up the next morning, because when I was drinking I'd sit there and drink and knit, and I dropped so many stitches. So it's a pleasure now picking up my knitting the next day. And I find other crafts and hobbies as well. I've got a bracelet making kit here that my good friend Polly does, but actually, because I used to like macrame at school, but actually I haven't quite got into doing that yet. It's all sat here in my top drawer. I've been doing some felting. I've been doing some kind of rug making almost. I'm doing a little gift for my lovely friend Must, which hopefully I will give to her when I see her at the spa. So this is a boredom breaker and a loneliness breaker, because I have met so many wonderful people on the I Am Sober app, which helps with loneliness and boredom, is to post, to talk, to connect with people on there. And on Sobertown podcast as well, to listen to podcasts and connect with people on there. And I've met sober ladies as well, and one sober man. I met Shicky as well. I've been doing that and travelling around, which is great. And there's 10 of us, 10 ladies are meeting at the end of January to go to a spa. We're going to a health spa to cement our friendship and our connection even more. So it's really important. We've talked a lot before about connection. It is important to connect, isn't it? So loneliness and boredom beaters for me have been podcasting, I Am Sober app, listening to podcasts, because even just listening to other people's stories, it makes you feel not alone. Connection on the I Am Sober app, hobbies, picking up hobbies. A lot of people's taken up walking and running. Some have climbed mountains, which is amazing. I've got other friends that have taken up paddleboarding. And the other thing is planning as well. I know we talk about living in the now, and it's really important that we only ever have now. We only ever have this moment. But it is good to plan ahead as well, because that can stop you being bored and lonely. I am planning a 3-month tour on my Can-Am, which has been my biggest boredom breaker and loneliness breaker. I've bought a Can-Am Riker, which has got me out and about. It does get me out. It's also you get a great biking community as well. So that's the thing. Any hobby or activity that you take up, you usually find lots of great communities that go with them as well. And in this day of virtual reality, and of Instagram and Facebook and that, you can meet lots of people virtually as well, and then meet up with them in real life if you wish to do so. And that's something that I'll be planning to do more of this year. So I think it's really important to find new habits, new hobbies, to also pick up old things. What did you enjoy doing as a child or as a teenager or before you started drinking? Because very often once we start drinking, those things go totally out of the window. So think back, what are the things that you used to do, that you used to love, or that you used to enjoy? Or what are those things that you've always said one day you'd like to do? Get a pen and paper, make a list it all down. What is it that you'd like to do? What is it that you used to do that used to bring you pleasure and joy, and that drinking wiped out? And start it again, do it again. Who is it that you've been meaning to ring? Who you've been meaning to email? Who have you been meaning to connect with? Who have you been meaning to visit? What is it that you've been meaning to do that has got put off because of your drinking? Or because of your sobriety? Because when we work our sobriety, we can get very, very focused on that, and not exclude others, but we can get very, very insular and very focused and forget some of the more sort of other connections and important connections, or I certainly did. I don't regret it. I loved every minute of connecting with all my sober ladies and sober guys, and of podcasting and of posting and of reading. But I'm actually focusing now on connecting a bit more with friends from the past that I haven't spoken to from years, and re-establishing relationships. and re-establishing relationships with family and friends that had been lost due to my drinking and then due to me working my sobriety. So make some connections, get pen, get paper, look at what the boredom and loneliness beaters are for you, because what you don't want to do is get bored and lonely and open a bottle. What I do now, that I also very much like, is making a cup of tea or a cup of coffee. It's become an art form, it really has, and I love hearing the sound of the kettle boil and click off. It really is a joy to me now, far more joyful than opening a bottle ever was. Yeah, you open a bottle and it's like, relief, but it's not joyful. In the end, it's not joyful. But I never bore or tire of hearing that kettle boil and making me a cup of tea. And that's the other thing that you can do, is do things mindfully. Don't rush around. Make a cup of tea, stand, listen to the kettle boiling, watch the water boiling. If you've got a tea bag, or I like to make myself a nice fresh cup of English tea, warm the pot with hot water, watch the water going in, put your tea leaves in, pour fresh water on, watch it changing colours. Just notice everything that you're doing. Be mindful, because even when we're doing tasks, we can get bored. We can really get bored. Being sober to me is about trying to find pleasure in everything I do. And I say trying because we can't find pleasure in everything, and that's okay. But we can find pleasure in a lot of everyday chores, and that stops boredom and it stops loneliness. So remember to connect with you and learn to just be as well. Be in the moment, enjoy the moment, and always know that this too shall pass. Take care for now, and I'll catch you again next week. Bye bye.